Major Garrett, chief White House correspondent for CBS News, out today his book, Mr. Trump's Wild Ride, the thrills, chills, screams, and occasional blackouts of an extraordinary presidency. Major Garrett, thanks so much for taking time to speak with us.
Thank you for having me.
The last time we saw each other was in the CBS News workspace at the New Hampshire primary when Donald Trump was victorious. Can you put yourself back there and compare what you were thinking that night to today?
Well, what I was thinking that night is this is an enormously important moment. Donald Trump, a novice in politics, won the New Hampshire primary, and he won it handily. And he was heading to South Carolina, which I thought he was going to arrive with a substantial amount of momentum. And I remember thinking to myself that night, if he puts those two in a row, he's going to be very, very hard to stop. The polling data had been very strong beneath Donald Trump. Again, this novice, never before seen kind of figure in Republican or Democratic politics. And New Hampshire was the place where, after absorbing a near victory, meaning a near loss in the Iowa caucuses, he established himself as a formidable figure in Republican Party politics. And then I thought, well, that means he's got a good chance of securing the nomination. Did I think, well, then he's going to be the next president of the United States? No, I can't think that far in advance. But that night, it was obvious to me he was a force to be reckoned with. And part of the book is not only about the campaign, but about the first year and a half of the Trump presidency, in which the world and our country is reckoning with that in positive and negative ways. But the reactions to Donald Trump then and now are intense, emotional, and pervasive. That's one of the other things I tried to capture in the book.
You know, and it's interesting, Major, because people always talk about wanting to go in journalism because it's a front row seat to history. You certainly probably envision being in that front row seat, but this probably is not the history you could have imagined. In the day in and day out coverage of this White House, where it has been pretty chaotic, a new set of facts for the news cycle within hours sometimes. Do you think it's worn the press corps and Americans down, or do you think it's been an energizing force that's really re-engaged people in the political process?
It has been both, and those two things can be true at exactly the same time, and that's one of the things that's fascinating about the Trump phenomenon, the Trump effect on American life. There is this constant sense of the unpredictability and the volatility and the news and the breaking news of Donald Trump. That also doesn't mean that there isn't sort of a means by which he's trying to achieve things or has already achieved things. One of the things I talk about in the book is already things have happened that, whether you love the Trump presidency or despise the Trump presidency, are going to be with us 5, 10, 20 years from now. There are already legacy items attributable to the Trump presidency and the Trump effect. What's the most vital
one, do you think? I know you write about his accomplishments. What's the most important?
It depends on your point of view. For a lot of Republicans, it's the Supreme Court and the federal bench. For other Republicans, it's the economy as dealt with by the tax reform. For other Republicans, small businesses in particular, it's deregulation. He's the most aggressive deregulatory president in American history, certainly modern American history. Is that going to work out in every respect, or are there going to be holes in health, safety, and pollution that we're going to be dealing with 20 years from now? I don't know. What I do know is he has been more aggressive there than any of his more recent predecessors. Those three things alone are legacy items. The way he enforces immigration law and the way he talks about immigration have fundamentally changed not only the way this country discusses the issue, but the way the world looks at America in relationship to immigration. Those are huge changes.
Do you think Americans can ever go back to looking at the presidency the same way again?
That is up to the 2018 and the 2020 elections. I write in the epilogue of the book that for many voters, Donald Trump was metaphorically a lottery ticket. Didn't know what you were going to get, but you're willing to take the chance. Now, what was unknowable in 2016, how is this going to play out and what's he going to be like within the Oval Office? We have a pretty good sense now. I don't know if the country's going to say, you know what, this is the new normal and we love it, or it's going to say, no, 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 no. Yeah. That was an experiment, and the experiment's reaching its termination date. It's expiring for us.
You point out the first president, obviously, to have never held political office, to have no military experience. Is this the way it's supposed to work? You know, here we have a businessman, an average American citizen, who found his way, accomplished what he did, working through all those other candidates in the primaries, gets to the White House, and whether you like his plan or not, he truly is disrupting the culture in Washington, D.C. Is this the way it's supposed to work?
It's the way it has been allowed and presented to the country to decide if the country wants it to work. And for this election, that's what the country decided. And having some sense, but not a completely fully informed sense, of what the unpredictable part of the Trump presidency would be. Now it's an experiment. That's the other thing that's fascinating about the Donald Trump presidency. It's a full-on experiment within our democracy.
American.
It's so American. It is. And he's not only just not a politician, he's a blue-collar billionaire. How many blue-collar billionaires can you describe in America? I can't think of many others.
No. I do have to ask before I let you go about the Brett Kavanaugh nomination. At this point, where we have a woman who has come forward to make this accusation, how do you see this White House handling this by next Monday when they both testify?
Giving Brett Kavanaugh space to prepare and urging Senate Republicans to keep this as narrow an inquiry as possible and put Brett Kavanaugh's words against the accuser's words and not have the president involve himself very much. Why? His political capital is limited. His moral authority is even more limited. This is going to be up to Brett Kavanaugh, but the White House will stick with him.
Well, once again, another fascinating story for us to watch over the next week or so. Major Garrett, the book is Mr. Trump's Wild Ride, wherever you buy books, available as of today. Congratulations on the book, and thanks for being with us.
Thank you for having me, and thank you very much.